Hello, ladies and gentlemen, to the very first Mana Bluff set review for M14. My name is Ryan.
And this is Mike.
We are here together to start off a really nice review for our white of M14.
Not just white, but the commons and uncommons in white.
Exactly. We decided that we're going to start, since we're the drafters of the world, we want to go ahead and start commons and uncommons, get a real sense of the draft environment for each color. Then
go on to the rares and mythics, see our balmy type things.
Yeah. The sweet shit.
Yeah, exactly. As you can see, and you probably, if you watch us, you may be familiar with the Gatherer website. This is kind of format by which we will be conducting our review. We're going to go through the commons and uncommons, like Ryan said, and then move on to the rares and mythics, but we're going to go...
Yeah, we have Gatherer up so that if you want to watch and see the cards as we discuss them, great. But also, we'll be talking about them in detail. So if you just want to put this on as a podcast or listen to it, while you're running or something, it should be good to go for that. And this is our first time doing it, so this will be an exploration of fun. Woo! Shall we jump into it?
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah. All right. So whites first. We have Angelic Accord. It's 3 and a white for an enchantment, uncommon. And it says, at the beginning of each end step, if you gained 4 or more life this turn, put a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying onto the battlefield. So right away, I have a lot of initial reactions. I'll spew a bunch, and then Mike, you can jump in after that. I'm noticing, we have an enchantment. That is a do nothing enchantment when it first comes down. And I'm noticing that there's it's relevant life gain. So right away in this set, I'm looking to see, do I care about an enchantment? And do I care about life gain? That being said, the card itself, Angelic Accord, is something that it sounds way more like a win more card. If you're already gaining 4 or more life a turn, I don't know if you necessarily need 4/4 white angel creature tokens, because the kind of things that gain you life regularly, ideally you're not playing cards that only gain you life. They're doing something more like a lifelink creature. If you're able to get 4 more lifelink a turn going on, you're probably doing something right already. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, at 4, if there's a way to regularly gain 4 life, and you have a card pooping 4/4 flying angels,
yeah,
that's pretty sweet. Then again, we're gonna have to kind of see the life gain / enchantment sub theme going on to be able to fully evaluate this card. Would I pick this up first, second, maybe even third pick? No, probably. Am I probably gonna be able to see this card later on? Maybe. I think this is the kind of card that's going to trip up a lot of people initially. They're going to be like, damn,
yeah.
4/4, all I have to do is gain 4 life, especially because we're going to be seeing that gain life theme.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to probably turn itself off, more so. By turn itself off, I mean not be quite as good as it might not necessarily think. Plus, there's very, very well could be the case that by turn 4, if there's somewhat of an aggressive strategy, then you don't want to necessarily throw this down as your 4-drop. And then later on in the game, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, at turn 4, I want to be doing something way more impactful, and, if this comes down on 5 and 6, I don't know, is that enough of a powerful effect? If y'all have to make 4 life gain every turn, that can be kind of tricky.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm kind of like you. I just want to look and see if there's an enchantment or a life gain strategy that I care about. In that case, then, yeah, this card can be wonderful in a deck, but for the most part, it's on the back burner.
Yeah, also, just something of note, it does say at the beginning of each end step, so it could trigger twice a turn. Like once on your opponent's turn and once on your turn. Kind of cool, maybe even multiplayer card, but nonetheless, we're talking about limited, so
yeah. A thing to bring up, actually, also that I didn't do in the introduction, is we're not going to be doing any scale rating on these cards, like, A, B, C, D, F, or, 1 through 5, like a lot of reviews. We're just going to talk about them as we talk about, opening a pack, or if we're going to pick them in for a draft.
Exactly. And with that being said, onto Angelic Wall, which is a common. You probably all may have know about it. It's 1 and a white for a 0/4 defender with flying, like I said, at common. If your deck wants that, your deck wants that. You're going to be able to get them. I don't think that there's much more that you can say about it. It's pretty sweet that it's got flying, so it can, it can't really profitably or even block those 4/4 angels that Angelic Accord poops out.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's got flying.
Yeah, if for some reason you have a deck that wants to stall out and you need something just to help you not die quickly, it's going to be there. But you can pretty much always pick these up, 10th pick.
Always.
Maybe
Yeah.
not that late, but you know what I mean?
Always.
You can get these cards. It's not exciting. It's not a reason to go white.
Yeah, and instead of alternating like Ryan and I discussed, we probably were going to do, since I got Angelic Wall, I'm going to take Auramancer, which is card number 3. 2 and a white for a 2/2. We all know what Auramancer does. When it enters the battlefield, you may return an enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. Once again, so Auramancer, 2 and a white for a 2/2. When Auramancer enters the battlefield, you may return target enchantment from your graveyard to your hand. Once again, the kind of enchantment theme that's going on. It's a 2/2 for 3, not great in and of itself.
Nope.
I did forget to say it is at common, so you'll be able to see these fairly regularly. So if you do have, your Angelic Accord that your opponent keeps killing with their enchantment removal, sure. If you have an arrest that they, or of some sort and thing, then it's got its place. And I really hope your deck doesn't want a 2/2 for 3.
Yeah. I've seen this in another format. I don't know what other core set it was in, but it didn't really do much. It's really just you have to look and see if enchantments are a thing. We're already paying attention, and we want to look as the set goes if there's an enchantment deck. But at 3 converted mana cost as a 2/2, not exciting unless the deck is doing something more with enchantments. So that's it. I'm not excited for it. So far, nothing to move into white. However, this next card is definitely a reason to be white, and it is Banisher Priest, 1 white for a 2/2 human cleric. That's uncommon. Now, why is that impressive? Since we just talked about a 3 converted mana cost 2/2,
Especially one that's harder to cast.
especially one that's way more difficult to cast. It's because when Banisher Priest enters the battlefield, you exile a target creature and opponent controls until Banisher Priest leaves the battlefield, i.e., adios, anything you want. So that's super sweet. That's a 2-for-1. That's get rid of some big dude and just make dreams come true. This is exactly a first pickable card. Now, obviously, there's other cards that could be even better than that, but still, this is a great white uncommon. What else can you say about it?
Yeah, it's awesome. You're probably not going to be seeing it all that often. If you do see it, you pick it up then. Obviously, if you're seeing it in 3rd pack, it's going to be hard to do that double white. But if you see it even pack 2, even fairly late, that's a fairly good signal that white's going to be open, because this, much like Ryan said, Banisher Priest is, you banish their scary thing.
Yeah, and then you're left with a 2/2 to bash in with and stuff. You have to play a little bit around how you're using Banisher Priest, because if you do lose the Banisher, then that creature comes back. So you do need to be aware of that. But for, in a sense, unconditional removal, because you just need to play that as a 3-mana removal spell and then just have Banisher Priest on the sidelines, whatever. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
And if it eats a removal spell, then it eats a removal spell, and you're ahead.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an awesome card.
Cool. And the next card on the list is Blessing. It's white for an enchantment. It's an aura at uncommon, and it reads enchant creature, and for a white, enchanted creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Now, there's no other stipulation. You can activate that as much as you want. You have 10 white producing sources out there. You can give your creature +1/+1 times 10.
Yeah.
Which is +10/+10.
I mean, that's a lot.
That's a lot. Blessing, that card is sweet. That's
totally disagree.
Awesome. That card is awesome. What? We're gonna see later on that the type of removal that's gonna kill your creature and essentially get you 2-for-1 is the kind of stuff like most of the kind of removal in the set's going to be along the lines of the red type where it deals damage. There isn't going to be much destroy target creature. You can pump out of that damage.
No, you can't, because here's why. I mean, if you're playing enchantment, you're always at a risk for a 2-for-1. So it has to be, and in my opinion, an enchantment that is super powerful when you play it. So you're gonna always have the time when you play this card down, right? But if I play this into a tapped out opponent's board, fine. Maybe I can even get a huge swing in with a major pump, right? But then, if my opponent has the removal next turn, it still is a 2-for-1. It's gone. There's nothing amazing. If my opponent's not tapped out, I play it, and it's one of those number of direct damages. In response to me casting it, my opponent's going to kill my creature. I'm 2-for-1. Or there's plenty of removals that are, for example, if Banisher Priest comes down, getting it has nothing to do with how big the power toughness is of the creature. Banisher Priest can take out a blessed creature anytime.
Fair enough.
And that being said, yeah, you definitely. I mean, it's an enchantment that pumps your dude. It's definitely playable, and it's gonna go back to here's our second enchantment into the first 5 cards of white. So we're seeing that enchantment can really be a thing. And if you want a lot of enchantments, then great, this will be a playable card. However, this is not a reason to play an enchantment deck. It's not that good.
It's not a reason to play an enchantment deck, but and it's not just if you want enchantments, you'll play this card. I think you'll play this card even absent enchantments. Do you pick it highly? Probably not necessarily, because as Brian said, any type of aura opens you up for the possibility for getting 2 for 1. But if you're able to be disciplined, you're able to draw out the removal, you put it on you put it on your Auramancer. That isn't
or
probably going to be
a 2/2 flyer or something.
It isn't a lightning rod for removal anyway, so you diversify your threats, you play disciplined, you're good.
I guess. I think the best case scenario is you hold on to this card, you put it on a creature that you know is going to bash in like a flyer as a finisher, and when you're at 7 or 8 mana, you cast this, and then you pump it a few, 3 or 4 times because you have 5 planes out, and then it does a nice little hunk. But I think I'd rather just have a removal card, of course, or some random combat trick.
You pick it. You'll be able to. You might not be able to initially. Might not be able to pick this up middle of the road. Yeah. Kind of in the pack, but that's probably when you should be picking it up, unless you want enchantments. Then again,
I'm not excited.
All right, fair enough.
The next card we have is Brave the Elements. It's a single white instant, uncommon. It says choose a color. White creatures you control gain protection from the chosen color until end of turn. And here, I'm not entirely sure how to rate this. My initial instinct is it's so conditional, it's not going to be amazing. It's just one of a classic kind of card where you have to really work hard to make it a blowout. You have to be in white, of course. You have to have good white creatures. And even then, it's not going to protect all your creatures. It's only going to do one color from your opponent. This is my 23rd playable card. This is if I need a nice instant, I need something to be doing in the 23rd card slot, fine. But I'm considering going to 18 lands or playing this. I'm not too sure if it's right. One or the other, I have to look at my deck, but it's either this or another land.
I don't entirely disagree, and to be perfectly honest, there's not much that I'm going to be able to add in terms of the description of Brave the Elements. Sure, yeah. You'll play it if you have a lot of white. If you're base white and you're almost you're verging on maybe potentially mono white, it obviously gets better in terms of having a bunch of white creatures. But Ryan summed it up quite well.
I think it's probably going to be a sideboard card against someone who might have if there's a mind control in the format, if there's pacifism in the format. Spoiler alert: there is pacifism in the format. But anything that has an aura. This is going to help you drop off enemy auras. So enemy aura removals, you give that white creature that protection from, blue when it gets rid of the mind control or any kind of thing. So that's a sideboard
card. Uncommon sideboard card.
Yep.
There we go. Cool. And our next card is the Capuchin Knight. Mm-hmm. For 1 and a white. That rhymes. It's cute. It's a 1/1 human knight at common. Mm-hmm. It has first strike. And it also has 1 and a white. Capuchin Knight gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So not quite as cool as Fire Breathing. It does have first strike, so it's a little bit more costly. And white might not necessarily always get these types of abilities, so it's pretty sweet. And it's the kind of card. It's a 1/1 for 2. You're not excited. It's got first strike. That's pretty cool. We'll have to see how many X1s are in the format in and of itself to be able to be able to better evaluate it.
That's it. Yeah.
But the pump ability means that it's not just a 2-drop that's irrelevant in the late game. Yeah. It has a place. It could be pretty sweet. Then again, it is one of those X1s that also gets hit by those things that kill X1s.
Yeah. I see it as a very playable 2-drop. It's kind of like a bear. Because, in essence, when you play it on turn 2, it's a 2/1 creature, right? The first strike just makes it a 2/1. So it'll trade with any other 2/2. It might even do a little bit more than that if there are other X1s in the format. And then, a lot of the times, you're just looking for a bear that is able to do something late game, and this is it. If you draw it later and turn 10 and you have 6 mana, you're not bummed just having an irrelevant 2/1 on the field. You play because then you can start pumping it and actually have it trade up with something more significant.
Indeed.
And so I think it's a super solid card. I'm looking at it as a bear with upside because for all intents and purposes, 2/1.
Solid. I would downgrade it to solid, not super solid. I know we said that we're not really going to have ratings per se, but nonetheless, it's a solid card. Would I be fine not having it? Totally.
Yeah.
Would I be fine not having a bear? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
So that's why it gets downgraded from super solid to just solid.
Just the fact it's a 2-drop that's has 2 power in essence makes it solid.
Exactly.
And then let's move on from there. We have Celestial Flare. It's a white instant at common. And Celestial Flare reads, target player sacrifices an attacking or blocking creature. This is classic white removal, super conditional, and it has to be someone doing an aggressor. It's dealt damage, it's attacking, it's blocking, or whatever. You'll play this because you need removal in white. It's just not the premium removal in the format. It's going to take a little bit of work. You have to anticipate what your opponent's doing, and there's going to be times where an opponent has a 1/1 out, some random token of some kind that we're going to probably see, and it's going to be attacking blocking every time you want to play this, and it's just going to remove a 1/1. But if you plan out this card and you use it as a nice trick, it can end up getting a bomb. So it takes a little bit of skill to play, but in white you need removal, and it's just going to be that 3rd tier removal spell, I think. You haven't seen the other removal in the format yet.
But no, this is the type of 3rd tier.
It's exactly the type of card you're going to probably wheel.
It definitely will. Celestial Flare is going to come around. Yeah. But it's also, honestly, the way I see myself playing this card is more I'm going to use it when I'm attacking. Not necessarily to save my dude or to get through damage, but to mess around with combat a little. I got a trampler. I've got it messes up the blocks a little bit, especially if my opponent is trying to double block. I see it being more impactful in that way than the attacker.
Especially in white, you have a lot of flyers. So if your opponent has a flyer that's kind of like holding back your flying team, you attack in like, haha, I'm gonna block you and I'm gonna eat one of your guys. Like, actually, I'm gonna Celestial Flare you with that one flare you have. Now suddenly you've cleared the airs and you're like alpha striking with a bunch of 2 griffins.
Yeah, it's true. Like when it's good, it'll be super good. I
think it's just that it's the card that's gonna wheel, but you're gonna probably play it kind of like a 23rd card in your deck.
Exactly.
Unless you end up getting a really bad draft going on and you're starved for removal, then you'll have to pick a bunch of these up because you just need something to clear the board.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind playing one. Yeah. Slightly, I think potentially even slightly better in the aggressive deck. The white weenie deck, it'll be a little bit better. Yeah. So I think the blocking mode is making a target player sack a blocker is going to be better than making a turn.
I think it's a good prediction. Yep. We'll see.
And on to our next card. It is Charging Griffin. It is 3 and a white for a Griffin at common. It's a 2/2. It's a Griffin, so it's got flying. Yay! Ryan loves blue-white flyers. But it also has the little some more text underneath flying. It says, whenever Charging Griffin attacks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. This card's pretty sweet. I mean, it's not quite a 3/3 flyer for 4, which would be that'd be really good.
Really good. And we've seen those, so that's what would get me excited.
I mean, it's common, so it's more often than not, the more aggressive your deck is, obviously the better this is. If you want it to be attacking, you want it to be attacking. But sometimes, I would play a Millennial Gargoyle, which is an artifact flyer. It's a 2/2 for 4 with flying. So I would play this. It's got a little bit of an upside. And if I'm in white, I'll pick one of these up. Not necessarily a 23rd card, but maybe like 18th.
But what I'll say is this is like Millennial Gargoyle, not a card I'm excited to play, and it doesn't go in every deck if you need just more power at your 4-drop slot. So I'm not excited. But that's why it's a common. It's serviceable. You're probably going to have plenty of 4s, and you're probably going to play this once or twice in a deck. Yeah. Most important to note is we've gone through a number of these white commons and uncommons yet, and I haven't been excited by anything so far, except for the 1 white 2/2 exile creatures, Banisher Priest
at
uncommon. And so far there's not a whole lot happening. That's just my status of white right now. But the Griffin, we'll be playing it. The next card is Congregate for 3 and a white, another instant at uncommon. And it says target player gains 2 life for each creature on the battlefield. Here we go to a life gain spell, almost never something you want to have in a deck. We were looking to see if life gain was going to be a theme. You know, that first Angel enchantment was something that we wanted to know if life gain would matter. Well, this helps you get there.
Yeah.
But still, since this is the first one I've seen at this point, I'm not looking to play a life gain deck.
No, not at all.
On top of it, this takes up an entire card slot at 4 for you. It's not awesome.
But come on, Ryan. It can gain you a gajillion life. It's 2 for each creature on the battlefield.
If you've played Alive and Well in the Gate Crash set, the Fuse card, man, when you fuse Alive and Well together, generally by the time that's played, that opponent's getting a 3/3 creature and getting 10 life. That just changes the whole game.
Yeah.
Here's the problem, though. This doesn't generate a creature, and you have to already have creatures on the battlefield just to gain life. And
you don't have to. It says for each creature on the battlefield.
Oh my gosh! Oh, okay. All right. That does change my opinion a little bit of the card because you're looking at a lot more life gain here.
Yeah.
In that case, it goes to the sideboard, and that's actually impressive.
A life gain spell.
Yeah.
Life gain spell that goes to the sideboard.
Yeah. That's impressive because generally unplayable to have a life gain spell, but the fact that this is so much life. It can be relevant.
No. The potential.
Yes, the
for
potential.
So much life.
And the point is, you want to see what your opponent's deck is doing and know what your deck's going to have. If you see these 2 decks are going to end up either stalling out in some way, and you need to kind of change something up in the game in a stalemate, or I think most aptly, if you're playing against an aggressive deck that is going to flood the early game with a bunch of 2-drops and get in there. And you're like, dang, 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 I'm down to 5 as I stabilize, and then whoops, let me gain 10 life out of a Congregate instant that the opponent's not seeing.
Yeah, that's true. But the thing, even though we both kind of agree it's a potential sideboard card, it's if life gain ends up being a thing, it's still a potential sideboard card. Well, I mean, it could. If you have a life gain deck and that's a thing, then sure. But it's not the type of sideboard card, say like an Aerial Predation, which is like destroy target creature with flying, where like you would actively pick that up as a sideboard card. If you end up getting this, you're like, meh, whatever. You don't choose it as a sideboard card. You're like, meh. And if it ends up being a sideboard card, it does.
I totally agree.
If it doesn't, you're not sad.
This is the third to last pick that you're like, oh, it's in my color, and hey, I happen to have a sideboard card. But you're never going, nice sideboard card.
Exactly.
Next card.
That being said, our next card is Dawnstrike Paladin. 3 white, so our highest converted mana cost in white so far. It's a human knight at common. It's a 2/4 vigilance lifelink. Couple things to note. 2/4 for 5. Meh, not bad. White, something to consider because it's a little bit more difficult to play than just a 4 and a white, of course. Vigilance and lifelink make this card sweet.
Oh yeah, super sweet.
This card's at common. I play a couple of. Granted, it's 5, but I play a couple of these. 4 life tends to be that kind of that point where it's like a lot of removal isn't able to completely get rid of you. That vigilance is pretty sweet, so it's almost like you'll be able to, over the course of a turn cycle, if it attacks and blocks, you're able to gain 4 life. I picked this card for a common. Thus far, what we've seen in white, I will pick this card fairly highly. I think the only card that we've seen thus far I would pick is the Banishment Priest. I believe
it's called
the Banishment Priest. We should take a look really quick. Banisher Priest. Then again, both of them have white in the cost, so you're pretty heavily white at that point.
I think Dawnstrike Paladin is a very good card. You're going to have it in your deck. I don't think I need to ever pick it highly when you're drafting this. Since it's double white and a 5-drop, it's going to be going around. Now, in the first pack, I'm going to pay attention if this is passed a little bit late as a good signal that white's open. But still, it's not overly powerful. I'm going to hope that maybe some rare, mythic rare 5-drops are going to be like taking these slots, because you only want a couple of these anyway. But it's definitely the one you want, especially in a white color where this is the guy that's gumming up the ground, getting you alive while your griffins are attacking in the air and killing your opponent.
Exactly.
Also important to note, here's a life gain spell that I do want to play. Unlike Congregate, Dawnstrike Paladin is something that if there is a life gain theme within the set, this is one that's going to help that out, and I'm happy to have it. It's a lifelink. So the next card we'll move on to is Divine Favor, 1 and a white, an enchantment aura at common. It says, enchant creature. When Divine Favor enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. Hey, life gain. Also, enchant creature gets +1/+3. So here we have a card that gets the enchantment and the life gain fulfillment available should this be a viable strategy within white, either life gain or enchantments. However, it's honestly just a pretty mediocre card.
More often than not, it's not worth a slot.
Yeah, it's just not worth anything. Again, this would be if there was a reason to play enchantments, I'd put this in a deck, 1 copy maybe.
Even then.
But again, I don't want to build a deck around this. I don't want to have Oromancers bouncing back Divine Favors for me because it doesn't do enough. You get 2 for 1, and yeah, the incidental life gain is fine, but it's not going to really change anything. I want a more impactful card than this, and it's just
pass.
Yeah, we're
pass.
done.
I would even be sad if I ended up picking this up as my last card in the pack.
It's only there if there's a synergistic quality in the deck, and I have not been convinced that enchantment or life gain matters enough to play a deck like that.
Yep, that's true. That being said, we are on to Fortify, which is our next card. So Fortify is 2 and a white for an instant at common. And what it reads is, ooh, we have choices now. Choose 1. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn, or creatures you control get +0/+2 until end of turn. Yeah, this is the kind of combat. This is a sweet combat trick.
I miss Martial Glory.
Yeah, Martial Glory is pretty sweet. Nonetheless, this is a sweet combat trick, one that white likes.
Yeah, I think
this is sweet. I would like this. I'm maybe not necessarily even 23rd card. Maybe 20. Maybe 20. Maybe. Like I'll gladly play this card.
Yeah, I mean I'm perfectly fine playing this card in white. Most importantly, it's versatile.
Yeah.
That's what matters. Is I mean +2/+0 or +1 or +0/+2 for 3. Either or is not great. So Fortify, if it was just half of this, would not be very efficient. But the fact that it's versatile, you can choose what matters to you the most, makes it a card that I'm willing to play. Because you can cater it to what you need at the time.
Exactly.
And that's a very good quality to have in a Magic card.
Yep. Once again, much like the other instant, the white Celestial Flare, I want to use this aggressively more than I want to use it defensively.
I'm down for that.
It's much better in that way, because then I just
Yeah,
swing in and my opponent doesn't necessarily anticipate it, even though it's at common, so we're going to be seeing it a fair bit.
Yeah.
If my opponent doesn't anticipate it, that's like, wins the game. I've got 3 creatures on the board, that's an extra 6 potential damage if blocks are not done properly.
Yeah. So that's kind of the cool thing.
Yep.
You can do a bunch of great trades with it, upgrade your trades, or when someone thinks they're trading, you can save your creatures if you want, and then get maybe extra damage in, or do a nice block, or it's just a blowout end of game spell when opponent thinks they have a lot more life than they really do.
Yep, exactly.
Next card is one of my favorites, Griffin Sentinel, 2 and a white. It is a Griffin, common, flying vigilance 1/3. So a flyer 1/3 4/3 is perfectly playable, super fine. The fact that it has vigilance, though, is way, way more powerful than you would think on first glance. You're able to ping in regularly, but most importantly, it just shuts down offense from the swing back. So even though it's only pinging, it's just you're just holding the board down. As a 3-drop, it comes down early. You get 2 of these online. Your opponent can't attack into you. You have defense for ages, and then you're doing 2 in the air all the time.
Yeah.
It's just
this card's pretty sweet.
It's a great utility card. You're not first picking it. It's not a bomb or anything. But as many as you can jam in your white deck, you're happy to pick these up.
I'd limit myself to like 3.
I would be so stoked if I was able to get 3 in a draft, and that's it. I mean, that's like great. 3 Griffin Sentinels, I'm not losing.
All right, and our next card is Hive Stirring.
Oh, the Hive!
Yay! First of the slivers. So Hive Stirring, it's 2 and white for a sorcery. Also for sorcery, we have seen in white so far.
That's true.
It's a common. Put 2 1/1 colorless sliver tokens onto the battlefield. 2 1/1s for 3. I mean, would you play? It's kind of like, it's almost, in terms of power level, I might say, similar to Oromancer in the sense where it puts 2 power, 2 toughness on the battlefield for 3 at sorcery speed.
Yeah.
It is split among 2 bodies. We'll see how the sliver theme moves along. So we will withhold judgment.
Yeah, I'm just gonna point that. Yeah, 2 for 3 is not something I want to be playing on my 3-drop.
Yep.
So what makes me want to play Hive Stirrings is if I am doing the sliver thing, and that's actually good if the game's designed that way, to where the only people who want this card are the people building sliver decks.
Yep.
That means it's gonna get to the people who want it, and that's cool. That being said, if you need more 3-drops, you'll play this in any white deck. But for the most part, you're looking to have a much more efficient creature. For example, we just had Griffin Sentinel at 3, a 1/3 flyer vigilance.
Yeah.
That's way better than the sorcery spell Hive Stirring.
Hive Stirrings does make Congregate better though than Griffin Sentinel does.
Yes, that's true. And if you want
Hive
to play Hive Stirrings and Congregate,
Hive Stirrings will gain you 4 life.
That's true.
With Congregate, whereas Griffin Sentinel will only gain you 2.
I hope, Mike, that you play Hive Stirrings and then Congregate so that I can win against you. That's my hope for you, Mike.
Fair enough, sir. Fair enough, sir.
The next card is Master of Diversion, a 2/1 creature. So here we go, another 3, and it happens to be a 2/2. So we're in this realm of these a 2/2 for 3s. What does this Human Scout do? It says, whenever Master of Diversion attacks, tap target creature defending player controls. Okay, wow. Right away I'm thinking, here's another aggressive white card.
Yeah.
And this is something where I'm a little more excited for what its ability does at 3. So now that I'm looking at a 3-mana 2/2, and I want something more for my 3 mana than just a 2/2, otherwise, I have a bear, and I want that at a 2 converted mana cost. This Master of Diversion has a relevant ability that I like. It means when you're attacking, you can get whatever my opponent is trying to go up the ground with out of the way. Or if I need to sacrifice it to tap out a flyer to get my Alpha Flight Strike on, I'm down for that. You'll notice I'm always thinking about flyers in white, because blue-white flyers is my archetype.
You'll notice this with Ryan.
Yeah. So I like it. That being said, not every deck wants it. If you are a controlling, great white deck, this card's going to suck for you.
Yeah.
It's going to do nothing. It's another 2/2 for 3.
Exactly. This card's sweet. We haven't necessarily seen the 2-drops. Even the 1 or the 2-drops that make the white weenie deck generally kind of good, whereas this card would be sweet. Like Ryan said, in that really aggressive deck, if you're this is how you look at this card. If your deck wants to be super aggressive and you're playing white, you're going to pick up this card.
I think it's important to note what you just said about we haven't seen the sweet cards to make the white weenie deck.
Yeah.
We've seen a couple of aggressive cards, but not the creatures for it. There's been, a 2-drop creature that's worth anything? That was the 1/1 First Striker.
Yeah. The Capuchin Knight.
Yeah, the Capuchin Knight. So I'm actually not very excited about a lot of the 2 and 3-drop creatures we're seeing at common uncommon, which can be worrisome because we're in M already for white commons and uncommons. So it's got to step up its game pretty soon if we're going to see a solid white creature curve coming down.
Exactly. And speaking of stepping up one's game, white makes the premium removal spot. We have Pacifism for 1 and a white. It's a common enchant creature. Hey. So it's an aura. Enchanted creature can't attack or block.
Boom.
Awesome. You want this card. It's one of the first pickable common?
Oh, for sure, first pickable. It's splashable, it's first pickable, it is everything you want.
It's common, it's pretty sweet.
I mean, this
is you pick up this card. This is awesome. Yeah,
Done.
Exactly. Thing to know, it does, unlike in Arrest, for example, it doesn't prevent activated abilities, just can't attack or block. But nonetheless, a lot of the time, control decks want this, aggressive decks want this. You easily splash this as your single color. You want this card. You first pick it. It's common. It's awesome. I don't think we need to say more.
Except I just want to mention the enchantment theme that we're looking for.
Once again, some additional value, but you needed additional value on a pacifism.
You don't. And actually, because of that, it actually makes, if we're looking for a enchantment deck, even worse. Because here's why. Yeah. Everyone's first picking this. Again, it's splashable. It means the enchantment deck isn't necessarily going to get the pacifism.
The premium enchantments that they want.
Exactly.
So to potentially even make the enchantment deck work, you have to work yourself into the kind of crappy enchantments, which you don't want to be doing.
So, my point is, don't be fooled by seeing this one and only great enchantment in white so far.
Yep.
That the enchantment deck is viable in white.
Exactly.
It's not that it's not yet. We haven't made that determination because we haven't seen all the cards. But right now, this is actually a fight against the enchantment synergy that we're looking for. Because I don't care if I'm playing green-red away from white. I'm splashing pacifism. It's that good.
Yeah, duh. Easily.
There, that's a little note. So the next card we're going to move on to is Pay No Heed. Fun name. It's a 1 white instant, another instant for 1. white, and it's a common that says prevent all damage a source of your choice would deal this turn. Kind of like a mini fog, really. It is. A conditional target creature is an indestructible. I would imagine that's kind of what's going to end up happening the most often. I don't know. What other scenarios are you doing? You're saving your creature.
In some ways, it's a mini fog, and in other ways, it's a maxi fog.
A maxi fog.
That being said,
I guess they're attacking.
Super good. Well, no, not if you're attacking. Fog just prevents all combat damage.
Yeah.
This, if they have, we don't know if
damage.
We don't know if a fireball's in the set, but if they, oh man, I would cry if I were to attempt to fireball my opponent for 10, and they're just like, sorry, pay no heed. It does nothing.
Then again, what you're saying.
Then again, for it being a maxi fog, it is still also a mini fog.
Well, let me ask you this, though. Is this a 23rd playable card, or is this a sideboard card?
Sideboard card.
Yeah.
This is a sideboard card, easily.
But that's the point. You didn't even disagree that it would be one of those kind of iffy cards.
No. It's a sideboard card. And plus, it's a common. You'll see it if you want it.
Yeah, you're going to pick this up third to last when it's there.
Exactly. And speaking of third to last, that makes no sense. But we have the Pillar-Filled Ox. 3 and a white for a 2/4. An Ox. Just a vanilla 2/4 for 4. Yeah, you play it. Sure, it's okay. You don't necessarily want to. Yeah, you're right. But you want to gum up the ground. There's not many creatures that we've seen thus far that will be able to do it better, other than the Dawnstrike Paladin. But that's at 5. And it's way better. Yeah. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to gum up the ground, and you will play a Pillar-Filled Ox.
Yeah, you'll have this in white if you're playing white, because it's going to come around and you're going to get it. And then if you're playing it in your deck, you're probably bummed that something went wrong in the draft, because you're really hoping to have
something went wrong in the draft.
Because you're really hoping to have something way cooler at 4.
Yep, exactly.
Plain simple.
And yep, it's a vanilla creature.
Yeah.
The only more we can talk about it is reading its flavor text, which we can do that later.
Okay, never mind. Okay, so the next card is Sentinel Sliver, another sliver. Oh, actually, our first actual sliver besides the sorcery. It's 1 and a white for a 2/2, so sweet. Our first bear. It is a creature. It is Sliver, and it's a common. And it says, Sliver creatures you control have vigilance. So this is a great 2/2. This is an amazing bear. It's a 2/2 with upside vigilance, and if you're even doing the Sliver deck, it gets insane.
Yeah, no, I mean, even if you're not doing the Sliver deck, you're trying to build the White Weenie deck. This is the first White Weenie card that we've seen at Common that you could potentially regularly get that I would play multiple copies of, because if nothing else, it's a 2/2 for vigilance. 2/2 vigilance for 2. Yeah, that's awesome.
But here's the thing that I'm thinking about is any white deck is going to pick these up fairly highly. After bombs or removals, you're looking for solid 2-drops that do a lot of work. This is going to do a lot of work. That means I'm worried about the white Sliver deck.
Yep.
Speaking of slivers, I didn't go into this earlier with the sorcery that we had, but in case for anyone listening or watching this, the sliver breakdown, if you haven't heard already, is white, red, and green are the primary colors for slivers.
Oh, okay.
What you're going to find is in each of those colors, again, white, red, and green, a rare sliver, an uncommon sliver, and 2 common sliver cards. So that's how frequently you see them. There is a rare sliver in blue and black, so you have a little bit of bonus, probably more of a splash, though I don't know exactly what they are, so we'll just see what they are.
Okay.
But for the most part, you're looking at white, red, and green as the sliver decks.
Sweet.
Just a heads up as we look into the sliver decks. Now, again, back to Sentinel Sliver, our 1 white, 2/2 vigilance for slivers. I'm actually worried for the white sliver deck because this is going to be good in any white deck. The white sliver deck isn't guaranteed to have it.
In the exact, just cross-apply the analysis that Ryan gave for why pacifism potentially makes the enchantment deck worse. Yeah. Sliver Sentinel potentially makes the sliver deck worse, not in the sense where the sliver deck doesn't want them. Mm-hmm. In fact, the sliver deck wants all of these, but so does everybody else.
Exactly.
Meaning they may not be able to get them as often. Once again, it's common, but everyone also wants it.
Do you see the next card?
I do indeed see the next card, and
so good.
I'm going to take it. The next card is Sarah Angel, 3 white for a 4/4 flyer with vigilance. Granted, it is an uncommon, so you're not going to be seeing it all that often, but I think I will gladly say the first would you say first certifiable bomb creature?
Yeah. I mean, and that's really rare to see in uncommons or commons.
Oh yeah, but, this gets the job done.
Slam pick.
Yep, slam pick. Even though it's at 5, you get it down. It'll get the job done. all the exact same ways that the Griffin, the 1/3 Vigilance Griffin was good. Sentinel Griffin. This card is way better. It's got 3 additional power. It's got an additional toughness. It does come down 2 turns later, but who cares?
Doesn't matter.
It does not matter. You will probably win the game.
Your opponent needs to remove it somehow, and not.
4 is tough. 4 is tough to. 4 toughness is tough to interact with.
Take it now.
Yep.
The only time you're not taking it is in 3rd pack if you're not in white, and even then, I'd get greedy.
Even then, try it. Or that's an uncommon I'd hate.
You get all the good cards. Pacifism. Okay. Anyway, the next card is Show of Valor. It is a traditional combat trick for white. It's 1 and a white, and common. Instant. Target creature gets +2/+4 until end of turn. So there you go. It's a simple pump spell. You're gonna want this for utility in your deck. It's a pretty big one, +2/+4, and it's great for what it is. You know, it's a very roll.
Thank you for that, Ryder.
For what it is. Sorry, yeah, I need to be more clear. It does what it's supposed to do. The card is exactly what it looks like on the surface.
I'd gladly not play it. Yep. I'll play it maybe.
Yep.
If I want to.
If you want a combat trick, this is the one. Yeah, I'd rather have 5 pacifisms for my spells in my deck, but that's not going to happen, so I'll play a Show of Valor.
Exactly.
There you go.
Speaking of Show of Valor, we've got a Siege Mastodon for 4 and a white. A 3/5 elephant at common.
What kind of creature is that?
It's an elephant.
It's an elephant.
It's literally an elephant.
Is that what elephants sound like?
I hope not. We just saw Sarah Angel at 5.
Yeah.
I'd much prefer that. This kind of falls the victim to the same type of analysis as Pillarfelled Ox does. It costs 1 more, but you get an additional power and toughness.
Yep, that's it.
Enough said.
Solemn Offering is 2 and a white for a sorcery common, and this sorcery says destroy target artifact or enchantment, you gain 4 life. This is just a pretty basic sideboard card. You're not playing it for the life gain unless we see that life gain deck take shape, but we're getting near the end of white, and I haven't seen it yet.
2 life gain spells.
So basically, this is going to be a much more relevant destroy artifact or enchantment that you bring in from the sideboard when you see someone playing, a strong artifact or enchantment you care about. For example, pacifisms on the other side of the board.
Yep.
And then the gain life is just a nice little incremental awesomeness.
Yep.
It'd be much better if it didn't have the gain life and instead it was an instant. But whatever, you're not going to complain when you're just sideboarding this against an opponent's deck.
Yep, much like the other type of removal spells. Alright, and much like I compared Congregate to, say, like an Aerial Predation, I would say Solemn Offering is the kind of sideboard card that you're slightly more excited to end up picking up. You're like, oh, cool, I got this. You might get more value out of it, rather than just, like, incidental sideboard. This is like, I could see myself picking this maybe over a potential playable in the form of Siege Mastodon as a decent enough sideboard card that I might use. Yeah,
Congregate you're only picking if it's the end of the pack, it's the only white card you're in white. Yep. Right? Solemn Offering, you might pick over your 3rd Show of Valor because you know you're not playing 3 Show of Valors.
Exactly.
But you might want the Solemn Offering for your sideboard.
Exactly. Because, I mean, destroy target artifact, we will get to the artifacts later, but, potentially
could be powerful.
Valuable.
So our next card is Soul Mender. It is a 1 white creature human clerics. Cool. So it's a 1-drop. It's a 1/1, and then as an activated ability, when you tap, you gain 1 life. Wow. So this is doing absolutely nothing unless there's a life gain deck.
Exactly.
Because this is just a 1/1 that comes into play, gets outclassed in a second. You never want a 1/1 for 1 unless it does something amazing. This is not that.
Haven't seen the life gain deck unless I've got 4 of these and to turn on my
your enchantment angel.
My enchantment angel, then no big deal.
And again, Mike, please play that deck and then play me.
Exactly. I would gladly not do that. The next card is the Steel Form Sliver. 2 and a white for an uncommon 2/2. So we've got a 2/2 at 3. It is uncommon, like I said, but sliver creatures you control get +0/+1.
Ah, so not a 2/2 for 3.
No, that is very much true. It is a 2/3
for 3.
Infinitely
better.
Infinitely?
Not quite. Significantly
better. Yes. I don't think every deck necessarily wants it because it's a 2/3 for 3.
This, I think, unlike the other sliver, will make it more to the sliver decks because this gets so much better in the sliver deck.
Oh yeah.
However, it is still a card that if I'm in white, there's nothing else for me to pick later in the pack. This is a really good. I mean, a 2-3 for 3 is never unplayable. That's just like a bear in a sense. A 2-2 for 2, a 2-3 for 3. You're fine with that. It comes to the ground, it does stuff. It's just obviously I want more. If I'm playing white, that's not the sliver deck. I'd rather have a stronger card.
Exactly.
That being said, though, the only stronger card we saw at 3 was the priest, the Banisher priest, and that's also uncommon.
Yep.
So you're probably not gonna see them together.
Yep, that's true.
But anyway, this is a much better sliver deck card than just a white deck card.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. Getting near the end here, we have a Stonehorn Chanter, a 6-drop. It's 5 and a white, Rhino Cleric creature, 4/4, and then it has an activated ability, 5 and a white. Stonehorn Chanter gains Vigilance and Lifelink until end of turn. So this is not a Sarah Angel as a bomb, but it's still a pretty powerful card. The problem is it's really expensive. Yeah. At 6, you're just getting a vanilla 4/4, and then you have to sink mana into it every turn for it to get a whole lot of value. And mind you, mana sinks are never bad to have. You're going to get to those games that stall out, and then you're going to be thankful that you have an activated ability that does something really cool versus, no cards in hand. But I'm not first picking it. I'm not moving into white for it. If anything, it might be the card I'm splashing for if I don't have
enough
6-drops, and I have a sweet, early curve removals, and I just want a little bit of beef at the end. Maybe I'll play it.
See, this is where I disagree. If I had a sweet early curve, I wouldn't play this card. If my deck is slightly more controlling, I'd play this. It doesn't look like so far, it doesn't look like there's that white weenie deck. I haven't seen it. So I'm not necessarily worried about that's one less super aggressive archetype that's out there that makes this card a little bit better. And if the next turn that you get this down, who cares? You've got a 4/4 Vigilance Lifelink.
Yeah.
You can pay for it the next turn and attack with it.
Okay.
So it's pretty sweet. That being said, you can also turn it into a lifelinking blocker.
Okay.
So if my deck is a little more controlling, of course I want this. I don't necessarily want it for beef at the top end because of that mana sinky ability.
I guess I think you're turning me on to it a little bit more because it does stabilize the ground. I mean, a 4/4 is huge. But at 6, you tend to see the rares and a little bit more going on. In white, we haven't seen that at the common or uncommon slots. We may not see a lot of 6-drops if your other color pairs don't have that. But I would imagine for the most part there are some pretty sweet 6-drops, and you only need 1 or 2 of them in your deck ever.
Exactly.
This is the backup 6-drop.
Yep. And on to our almost final cards, our penultimate white card in the common and uncommon variety. We've got a Suntail Hawk for its 1 white, just not 1 and a white, it's just white. It's a 1/1 flyer. No.
Yeah, it just doesn't do enough. Even though it has flying and evasion, it's just not going to be awesome.
No, I'm not going to play it. Next.
Yep. Next we have Wall of Swords, so probably going to be a wall. It's 3 and a white for a 3/5 creature. That is a wall at uncommon. It's defender and flying. So pretty powerful for what it does. As a 3/5, that's a whole lot of power and toughness for only 4. And it has flying, so it's going to block everything. But it is a defender, so it's going to go in the deck that wants to be defending.
Exactly. It's going to go into the exact same deck that wants to play the Rhino.
Probably, yeah. And it definitely works on the curve a little bit better, in my opinion. So I actually prefer this over the Rhino in that type of deck.
Exactly.
And yeah, so I like it. If this is the wall, I want this over the Angelic Wall, even though Angelic Wall only costs 2.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But this card can do a lot because it just kills so many things at 3/5. It really is like shut down not just your flyers, but you're not getting through this on the ground, so I'm killing everything that's coming in right now.
That's true.
So I actually like this wall.
Totally agree. So that pretty much concludes our white commons and uncommons. As you can see, we're probably getting on to the blue cards. So, quick overview of the commons and uncommons in white. I don't necessarily see the white weenie deck forming. I've got the 1/2-drop, the 2-drop sliver, 2/2 work for vigilance. That's awesome. Yeah. Otherwise, the other small low drops we've got are a Suntail Hawk, not particularly exciting. So I'm not particularly excited about the white weenie deck. I don't see it like.
Is there anything you're excited for white in general?
Not particularly. White. I mean, Sarah Angel pacifism. I mean, I'm gonna splash pacifism. Exactly the staples. White isn't particularly exciting like it has been in years past. In core sets past.
I'm currently bummed because I'm not seeing the pieces that I need to make my flyers happen. I think the only strategy in white is going to be with flyers. It's the only kind of power that's there.
Especially because white weenie's not there.
Yeah, so that's what you're going to maybe be doing is getting some evasion on with your white cards, whatever you're pairing up. But it's going to be a support color, not a main color. There's nothing powerful in the deck. Yep. Most importantly,
I completely agree.
The enchantments we are looking for currently aren't viable unless you're pairing this with another color. So at this point, I'm not looking to play Auramancer or the Angelic enchantment, the very first one we saw, which is called Angelic Accord, unless there's another color that has strong enchantments.
Exactly.
Likewise, in life gain, I'm not seeing anything that makes life gain really important in white at all. There's no cards that make me want to play life gain. So that means I'm only looking to black, the only other color that really has life gain. There's a little bit in green every now and then, but I don't think we're going to see
it. The thing that's slightly unfortunate, kind of as we go through, the best white cards are double white.
That's true.
That's slightly unfortunate, but if you
they do that though, so white gets the good cards.
Exactly. That's that's fine. And that being said, we've kind of gone over the commons and uncommons. We're just going to jump really quick to the rares and mythics.
But before that, there's one last thing I was thinking about the other deck is the sliver stuff.
Yes.
In white here, I think especially because the premier common sliver, the 2/2 vigilance, is good in white. I'm going to be a little worried being in slivers as white my main sliver deck.
Yep, that's true.
So because we only see the sorcery at common and the uncommon 2/3 sliver is fine, but it's going to probably hopefully support not super strong.
Yep.
And that's what I'm looking for in the draft. I think, like we already said, white is going to be a support color, not a main color. It's fairly weak.
Yep. 2, 1.
And here we are with white in our mythic and rare cards, and we're going to pound through these. We're not going to see a lot of this in limited. Yeah. It's basically, is this a bomb, or are you going to not really care much about it?
Yep.
And our first one, Ajani, Caller of the Pride, a Planeswalker for 1 white. Let's just put it this way, it's a Planeswalker, you're probably first picking it.
Yeah.
But let's just see what it does. Ajani enters with 4 loyalty counters. His first ability is +1. Put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature. And then the next ability is -3. Target creature gains flying and double strike until end of turn. And then -8. Put X 2/2 white cat creature tokens onto the battlefield where X is your life total.
Yeah.
So yeah, this guy's a bomb. He's awesome. He's pumping your creatures.
It's a Planeswalker. You never don't want to play Planeswalker.
So it's just
I think enough said. Yeah. Our second rare/mythic is Ajani's Chosen. 2 white for a 3/3. Obviously, it's at rare. But whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, put a 2/2 white cat creature token onto the battlefield. If that enchantment is an aura, you may attach it to that token. That's pretty cool. This is the first kind of support we've seen for the white enchantment deck. Who cares? It's at rare. Yeah. Unless you're seeing this first, then you can kind of build around it. If not, it doesn't really matter. You don't want to pick up the enchantments first and then hope for this. Yeah. You want to get this and then...
But even then, I don't want to have a 1 card in my deck that makes my entire deck work. I know you can start it and build around it, but you build around it with commons and uncommons that also work synergistically. We've already seen so far in white, we're not getting enchantments or life gain.
I'm not excited about this card. I'd pass it.
In my opinion, it's going to be 3/3 for 4, and it's going to hard cast 4 because it's double white.
Yep.
The next card is Archangel of Thune, which better be frickin' sweet because its name is frickin' sweet.
Yeah.
It's a 3 white angel, gotta be sweet, and you're mythic. It's a 3/4 flyer with lifelink. Already playing it. And whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Oh yeah, bomb mythic, done. It has lifelink, it's gaining you life, so you don't need to support around it. Just every time this guy bashes in, which is going to do all the time in the air at 3/4, you're pumping your entire squadron up.
Yeah, this is the kind of card. Unlike Ajani's Chosen, it works with itself.
Exactly.
All of its abilities work together within the same card. You don't have to build around it. You just play it and win. It's no surprise that this card is like $30 right now.
Oh gosh, is it?
Yeah, it's like $30. It's crazy.
I mean, it says kill me or be killed.
Yeah. I mean, plus if you have the tech quote unquote life gain deck, it just makes it a little bit better. But who cares? It's mythic and it's awesome. And we're skipping over Blessing really quick because we already went over this. It was rare at one point. We've got the Bone-Scythe Sliver, 3 and a white for a rare sliver. It's a 2/2 for 4, so already not so meh. But sliver creatures you control have double strike.
Oh,
yeah, this is good. This is pretty sweet. So it's a 2/2 double strike for 4, which is actually kind of cool in and of itself. Yeah. I'd pick it up. Would you play just a 2/2 double strike for 4?
Totally. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. So you would play it here. Obviously, it makes your slivers a little bit better. Yeah. But same kind of fate as the 2-drop sliver. Not necessarily. Way better in the Sliver deck, but does the regular white deck want it? Yeah. Yes, it does.
Here, I actually like this as a rare. It's not a bomb. You're not necessarily slamming it. Here's the thing. I picked Pacifism over this first
easily.
pick. But if there isn't if there isn't a Sarah Angel or Pacifism and nothing else in the deck, I'll take this and start building my Sliver deck. That's for sure.
Yep.
Because that's insane. But mostly just like a nice, solid, good card.
Yep.
That you're gonna want up with some good power level.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I like it.
The next card is Devout Invocation. 6 and a white, for a sorcery, but it's mythic, so let's see what it does. Tap any number of untapped creatures you control. Put a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying onto the battlefield for each creature tapped this way. Alright, that's interesting. And actually, I'm a little confused right now about what I want with this. It's a 7-drop, which is hard to cast. So, it's gotta win you the game if you're paying 7. And it doesn't do it on its own. You need to have a bunch of creatures out, and you need to prepare time where they aren't attacking. Because what you need to do is take an entire turn to tap your creatures before attacking, right? Because if you attacked in with them, you can't use them. And then you get a sweet Squadron of Angels. I mean, just having 2 creatures out for 7 mana, you're still getting 8 power and toughness in the air.
That's
fine.
Sweet.
That is honestly, I'm playing that. However, you get to 3 or 4 creatures and you're saving up for this, and you're maybe taking a little extra damage, and your opponent's confused why you're not like chump blocking or why you're not double blocking creatures.
Yeah.
Then you slam down Devout Invocation once you get to 7.
Yeah.
I mean, you're getting 3 or 4 angels on the board. You're dead.
I kind of like this card. I mean, at 7, the same deck that wants the Pillarfield Doxes, that wants the 3/4 Flying Defender, that wants the the defenders to kind of gum up. I mean, it's going to play this. Granted, it's 7, but so far, if we're just looking at white, this format's a little slower than it has been in previous years. If you just look at just white,
my thought is, if it was at 6, then I'm excited about it. But at 7, it's going to be really hard to be staying alive and still have creatures on the battlefield at that point.
That's true.
And since this, if this was just 7 mana mythic, put 2 4/4 white angel creature tokens on the battlefield, I'd actually be more excited by that because it guarantees you have those. But the fact that you have to make your creatures work to make it also happen,
because it has the super upside, that's why it's mythic.
No, I get it, because you can get blown out.
If I see this card, I'm gonna try it out. But it's mythic, I'm probably not gonna see it. Yeah. And that being said, we're on to our next card. It's Fiendslayer Paladin. Ooh. Obviously, it's at least a rare or mythic. Spoiler alert, it's a rare. It's 1 white for a 2/2. So once again, another 2/2 for 3. But this has first strike.
Yes.
It's got lifelink, and this little tidbit where Fiendslayer Paladin can't be the target of black or red spells your opponents control. So it's got kind of a hexproof, like mini hexproof, if we continue the mini maxi kind of analogy. This card is awesome.
Yeah, very good card.
This card is sweet.
This is the first in the cycle that you're going to see in every color of color-specific abilities, where they're doing enemy-aligned abilities. So this is why it has the protection from black or red spells for that upside.
Yep.
But just a 2/2 first streak lifelink is great. A little bit of upside with red or black. Still not a bomb. I might even pick Pacifism over this. It's probably
I would definitely pick Pacifism over this.
Yeah, as a removal spell. All right, cool. I still think it's super strong, though. I mean, you're getting a whole lot of value for it. So it's probably the most efficient creature you're going to ever find.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that's true. Pillarfield Ox kills it. I mean, I know that might seem weird to say, but like Pillarfield Ox kills it.
It does, yeah. So that's important to know. It definitely can be outclassed. The next creature we have on our rare list is Imposing Sovereign. It's 1 and a white for a 2/1, and then creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. This I am not excited about. Not that it's bad. It's not by any means bad. It's a 2/1 for 2, so that by itself is a playable, right? And then the fact that the opponent's creature comes to the battlefield tapped is definitely an upside. But I'm not, again, back to Pacifism. I'm taking that or Sarah Angel over this card.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a solid rare. I might pick it up 3rd or 4th if I'm still seeing white open, because it's a really good 2-drop.
Yeah.
But especially seeing how lame white is in general, I'm not first picking this by any means.
Yeah, no. I mean, if your deck is aggressive, we've already kind of discussed based on the commons and uncommons that you don't want white necessarily to be your main color. If white's your support color, so maybe if you see this pack 2, I might first pick this pack 2, pick 1.
Yeah.
If I've already got kind of a cool base and I know I might be able to have an aggressive deck, obviously this shines in the aggressive deck. Yeah. This is what you want. You attack in with it. 2/1 easily killed, but nonetheless, it's pretty sweet.
It's an efficient 2-drop that does some cool stuff, but it's not booing me into white.
Yep. Our next card is Indestructibility. I wonder what that does. It's 3 and a white for an aura. It's a rare, and it says Enchant Permanent. Enchant Permanent has Indestructible. The only reason this was printed was to show off the rules change that comes with M14, with Indestructibility being a keyword now, that it's something that can be removed from a permanent of sorts. I'd be fine, and I wouldn't entirely be surprised if this card was, the last card in a pack.
Yeah, this is gonna whale. You don't need this card.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Unless you are lucky and by 3rd pack you have 3 to 4 bombs in your deck and you need to protect them somehow, then you're doing this. But even then, you've got to work really hard to protect those because you got to play around.
I don't care about this card whatsoever.
Okay, I agree. Path of Bravery is a rare. It's 2 and a white for an enchantment. As long as your life total is greater than or equal to your starting life total, creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever one or more creatures you control attack, you gain life equal to the number of attacking creatures. So here is an enchantment that gains you life. So if there was a deck that wanted either of those abilities, then this would be wonderful. However, we have already seen, just based on commons and uncommons in white, that's not happening as of yet. So unless this is paired with another color, I could care less about Path of Bravery. Particularly because the first clause about creatures getting +1/+1 and life total, it's going to take you some time to get there, because you're probably taking some damage here or there, in the world. And if you're playing this on turn at turn 3, I kind of want a creature at that point. I need to develop my board. I don't need an enchantment that's not going to do a whole lot.
This card also becomes potentially dangerous if you're, say, against a red deck with burn spells, and your life total is close. They hit you with the Searing Spear equivalent in red in this format, and you're like, oh crap, my creatures are all weaker now. You get blown out. This is still the kind of card I would never pick up.
I would pick it up. I do think it's playable. I definitely think it's playable, but I'm not trying to do anything.
I wouldn't play with it. I wouldn't play it.
I'm going to keep an eye on this Path of Bravery. I think it might be more powerful than we think. I'm not too sure.
The next card I'm not particularly excited about. I got all the cool sliver. I got Pacifism and the 2-drop sliver, but now I get Planar Cleansing. 3 white. Yes, you hear that. It is a 6-drop. 3 white, triple white. It's a rare sorcery. Destroy all non-land permanents. Cool. You want a Wrath. All right. You open up your Wrath. It's not particularly exciting. We already said we don't want to be white to be our main color, and triple white is definitely going to do that for you. So,
Wraths will always have a place, but in limited, there's less of a place for them. It's much more constructed, and at 6 with triple white, you're going to be so far behind by the time you cast this. It's just not going to do a whole lot. It's probably going to be tabled, to be honest. Next card, Seraph of the Sword. Ooh, another angel. It's a 3 and a white 3/3 angel, rare. It has flying, of course, it's an angel, and it says prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to Seraph of the Sword. So you got a 3/3 flyer that has a lot of protection for 4. Awesome, great card. Not a bomb. You may not even be first picking it against a really sweet first pick uncommon, like Pacifism or Seraph. Sarah. Actually, I know Sarah or Seraph might be an argument.
Sarah or Seraph?
Seraph of the Sword, that's what we're talking about now, versus Sarah Angel.
Sarah.
You do Sarah?
Yeah.
I think I would too.
I would do Sarah. I mean, then again, this card is awesome. Even if you get rid of the clause, prevent all combat damage, it would be dealt to Seraph of the Sword. A 3/3 flyer for 4 is sweet.
Yep, that's great.
In all honesty, regardless of the rarity, regardless of how cool the art is,
the art is cool.
I would first pick this. I would first pick a 3/3 flyer for 4.
I would first pick it in a weak pack. If there was just like some 2-drops, some whatever, and not a premium removal or something, I'd first pick it. But I'm hoping to get a better bomb.
And the final rare and or mythic white card, skipping over Sarah Angel because it's an uncommon in the set, is Silence. It is an instant at rare for 1 white, not 1 and a white, just a white. Your opponents can't cast spells this turn. It's going to be more of a constructed card. It's not going to be particularly exciting and limited. I wouldn't even necessarily sideboard it.
I'm playing an 18th land before I play Silence.
Probably
not going to be relevant.
Yep.
If miraculously you have an opponent with tons of different spells that are going to matter on at some point that you just need to be countering or whatever, or just need a tempo swing, fine.
I mean, then again, you can kind of consider it the white cancel. No.
Oh wait, no.
No.
Look. Spells cast before this resolves
Sorry.
are unaffected. It's not even that. Never mind. This is completely a waste of life.
Yeah.
All it does is give you. It's kind of like a mini time lock, but that's not really the case. It just kind of like, oh, here you go, tempo swing. Maybe I'm wrong, because I've heard time lock is actually a good. That's a card that basically allows your opponent not to have a turn, but you get to get your turn back, so you can play that on someone's upkeep or something. But I don't know if it's worth a card. My instinct says no, but because I've heard how powerful that a time lock can be, maybe it's there. But I don't
particularly think so. I mean, then again, these are all, kind of to sum it up, those are all common. Pardon me, rares and mythics. We're not going to be seeing them all too often. Like, it's cool when you get them. It's, if you don't end up getting them, you can certainly make your white deck work. Yeah. Much like our kind of analysis of the commons and uncommons. White, you probably don't want to be your base color. Yeah, I certainly don't. And if I just my 2 cents, my cent. No, white's a good support color.
I'm looking to avoid white so far. All right,
and well, there is our review of white in M14. This is Mike with Mana Bluff.
I'm Ryan from Mana Bluff,
and we will be seeing you soon with the commons and uncommons in blue.
Check out our site, www.manabluff.com.